Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Gwent, and today we're going to be playing the new Trial of the Grasses seasonal event, which is an alternate game mode in which whenever a unit enters the playing field, it'll get damaged by 2 and then get boosted by 4, unless it's a Witcher, in which case it will not take damage and it will only get boosted by 4. That means the name of the game is to play a bunch of Witchers, so today we'll be trying out a Cat School Witcher deck. Let's take a look. So today we'll be playing a Scoia'Tael Guerrilla Tactics Cat School Witcher deck, which means that we'll maximize the number of cards that benefit from movement, like Gezras, Cat Witchers, Dol Blathanna Sentries, and Dryad Matrons. And with that being said, it really is quite simple. Basically, just play the cards that move, and get boosted and deal damage in the process. So now I'll flip through the deck to show you what else we have. And of course, Gezras is the key card here, what with him giving a ton of damage and a ton of boosts whenever he moves. And Brehen is an interesting one, because if we use our leader ability to move one of our opponent's biggest cards to a different row, it will become the rightmost unit. So as long as there are at least 3 units out there, we can destroy it with Brehen. Then, of course, if we have a lot of Witchers out there, then Leo is a strong finisher. Although in this deck, Scoia'Tael has enough movement cards that are not Witchers that he's not quite as good as he might be in other pure Witcher decks. Then Morenn is our only source of lock, so we'll want to try to save her when our opponent plays something big. Then we start getting to the end of the deck with cards like Red Haze and Megascope that we'd probably prefer not to have in our hand, although Megascope we could use to create another copy of a Dol Blathanna Sentry. Then the Mahakam Defender is also a card that is ideally just a throwaway in case our opponent dry passes, though because in this event he immediately gets boosted, it means he automatically will generate 1 point per turn, so he's still not bad. So there's a look at the deck, and like I said, very simple. Basically just move and get boosted and deal damage in the process. So let's go see it in action. Alright, so going into Nilfgaard here, and they'll go first. Okay, and we have the Dol Blathanna Sentry, plus a Cat Witcher, along with the Treant Boar, so we have some movement and cards that benefit from that movement. Then Vesemir is another good card to play in round 1 for some carryover. And I think, let's get rid of Red Haze. Stygga Castle could give us some more Cat Witchers. Then probably the Mahakam Defender as well. And Yrden, okay, not a bad pickup. Okay, they're gonna go with the Viper. Interesting. Well, bring on the memes, in that case. See, the thing is, though, it is over 9 power, and therefore we could destroy it with Geralt of Rivia, in which case this will backfire on them. So, I hate to break it to you, buddy, but I think we're gonna do that. I love the idea, but just a little too easy to shut it down. And they take out their anger, use their leader ability on Geralt, then play Master of Disguise, so that'll get boosted. And now we get Viper out. The reason for that is, if you destroy Viper, then he immediately goes into their graveyard. There's no other cards in their graveyard, so he immediately comes out on our side. So that's the big counter to him. Alright, and let's get a Cat Witcher out here. Let's get the movement started. And they're going to use Geralt of Rivia on Viper. Okay, but fortunately, it did have Doomed, so that means that it got banished to the Shadow Realm, rather than go into our graveyard, so they're not going to get it back on their side. In which case, now let's get a Dol Blathanna Sentry out here to support this Cat Witcher. Okay, then they're going to go hunting back, and we do have a status. So we'll get another one out here. And we could lock this Master of Disguise. I was thinking we might save Morenn for a bigger card than that, but this would also set up our Treant Boar for some zeal. So, alright. It's a little aggressive, since she is our only source of lock, but we'll take that risk. And then they're going to go with the Standard Bearer, and we do have a lot of boosted units, so it works reasonably well here. But it's just a point slam. It doesn't have any potential for additional points. So long term, we should be able to outpace it. Especially if we play the Treant Boar here. And it will have Zeal, now that we have a Dryad out here. In which case, let's hit Geralt. And get boosted in the process. Okay, they're going to go with Geralt Quen to get the Wolf School Trio. And speaking of point slams, that's a pretty good one. Let's go with our Cat Witcher Mentor here. So we have enough movement going on at the moment that should get boosted a fair bit. Okay, and they're going to pass. But here's the thing. They do have a lead, but they aren't generating any more points at this stage. So it should be simple enough to catch them here. And so they just forfeit. So we'll take the win. Alright, so going up against Skellige here. And they'll go first. And let's swap out the red Haze. And probably the Megascope as well. Okay, they're going to go with the Bear Witcher Adept. Will heal itself back up to 7. I'm not sure that's the best card to lead off with, because at this point it'll just load up on armor. Let's start with the Dol Blathanna Sentry. Okay, then they're going to use armor up to get themselves a bunch of Witcher students. And then they're using their leader ability here. So much so that they're going to remove the Dol Blathanna Sentry. In that case, let's go with the Dryad Matron. And they're going to go with Armorer's Workshop to boost those students further. Now, I was going to go with the Treant Boar next, because it will get Zeal now that we have the Dryad Matron out there. Although, with all that armor, it's not going to do as much good. In which case, maybe we go with Stygga Castle here. Get a Cat Witcher. Which, yes, is also a source of damage, but also just a source of movement, which will help us get boosts with this Dryad Matron. Okay, then they're going with another round of armor up for even more students. And okay, at least these ones only have 1 armor, in which case I say, let's go with the Treant Boar. It will gain Seal because we have a Dryad, and then let's hit one of those, so we can at least deal some damage. Then they're going with the Bear Witcher Quartermaster, and they have so much armor out here that they have a bunch of easy targets for their order ability, which will, of course, create even more of these Witcher students. Alright, and let's use Selective Mutation here to get one of our Key Witchers in our hand. And I think we want to save Gezras, but we could potentially use another Cat Witcher here. And we'll put Morenn back, and let's move the Treant Boar back as well. Okay, then they're going to damage that Cat Witcher with their Bear Witcher. And now let's use that Cat Witcher that we put in our hand. Damage a Witcher student again. Okay, then they're using BetaChad here. Now that's a problem. No Sucrus, which means that he will still take damage, but Sunset Wanderers as well. Did not even notice they had cards moving in their hand. Now, we could still destroy BetaChad with Geralt of Rivia, or we could Yrden, either of which might just barely be enough, but I'm not even sure if that's the case, so I think we pass here. Alright, and so they played one more card than us, in which case they might dry pass here, in which case Mahakam Defender would be useful for that purpose. Otherwise, we have a little bit more movement support with the Dryad Matron and the Dol Blathanna Sentry. But we don't have a ton of Witchers, so I think we actually dump Leo here, and probably can do better than Megascope. Red Haze is not that much better, though. And they do dry pass. In which case, let's use the Mahakam Defender here. Okay, and we got Malena for some additional movement support. Oneiromancy, and again Leo. But I think top priority is let's swap out Red Haze. Cat Witcher definitely much better, but I still do think we can do better than Leo. And Gaetan probably is better. So let's start with the Dol Blathanna Sentry. Then they're going to use Selective Mutation. So they'll optimize their hand. And get a couple of Witcher students out here. Now let's start damaging those students with the Cat Witcher. Then they're going with the Bear Witcher Mentor. This is not the right time to play him. No damage units out there at all. So he does not get any additional boosts beyond just being a Witcher in this event. So now let's go with the Dryad Matron. And they're going with Hare and Kaduk, their location. Get a Bear Witcher, and I did see this one coming, I'm afraid. They were trying to deal the damage, but it's only at Adrenaline 4. So that means the Dol Blathanna Sentry is actually safe here. Now let's get out Malena. And use her to just get some extra movement happening. To make that boost happen with the Dol Blathanna Sentry. Okay, then they're going with Marjoram. Which will give them a fairly sizable boost. So I'm not too concerned about that, because of course we can either use Geralt of Rivia or Yrden to reset or destroy some big cards. So let's focus on putting up points for the moment, in which case let's go with the Cat Witcher Mentor. And then once again, let's use Malena to move the Cat Witcher. Okay, then they go with the Vesemir Mentor. They do, of course, have a lot of Witchers out there, and I imagine they have a lot more Witchers in their hand. But now we go Oneiromancy into Gezras, and we'll put him in the melee row, because we have a lot of units in our range row to get boosted from this. No, actually, we could put him in the range row first, and then use Malena to move him, and then end our turn. So we are still finishing with him in the range row, given all those boosts. Then it's Sigdrifa's right. That'll get them Yrden back. However, he is above 9 power, and so I think he is definitely who we're going to want to get rid of with Geralt of Rivia. So let's do that here. Then once again, let's move Gezras to this row here to maximize our boosting. But of course, if they have a Yrden, which they may, then that's going to be pretty terrible for us, so we're going to want to try to make sure that we don't have every single big card in this range row. And actually, I think we do want to use Yrden now, because Gaetan will give us a lot of damage. And I think this row is a little bit bigger. Then let's move Gezras again, maximize the boosting. Okay, then it's destroying a damaged unit. Well, the thing is, we don't have any damaged units. And so I think we have to act on the assumption that this last card is Yrden, in which case we want to make sure that we have some big units in our melee row and our range row, because if everything big is in this range row, then we'll get everything reset, and then we lose. So let's start with Malena to move the Cat Witcher into this range row. Then we'll use Gaetan to move everybody out of that row. Then let's move some big units back into the range row. Most importantly, Dol Blathanna Sentry for a little more boosting. And then Cat Witcher. Actually, bear in mind, because the Cat Witcher and Gezras will continue to move, that means we have this big Cat Witcher in this row, and then Gezras in this range row, and this has got to be Yrden, right? No, it's Leo, actually. So they're going for their boosts. That is definitely not enough for them to catch up to us, so we'll take the win. Alright, so Nilfgaard here. And we'll go first. Okay, and we've got Dol Blathanna Sentry, which is a good setup card to go along with our movements. Although we actually don't have too much of it at the moment. Let's get rid of the Megascope. And I'd love if we could combine Treant Boar with Malena, which we could do with Oneiromancy. Well, let's get rid of Red Haze as well, I think. Yrden is, it's not bad, it's just not a lot of movement, surprisingly. But I guess we can make this work. Worst comes worst, we can use Selective Mutation to switch something in here. We could even go with a preemptive Treant Boar here, since we don't need the Zeal right now. Waiting for them to play a card on their next turn for us to damage. Okay, they're going to go with Dandelion. Okay, into Ciri. So we'll definitely want to try to take that out. In fact, you could even make the case it's worth using Geralt of Rivia to immediately destroy her. Though maybe we save Geralt and instead go Oneiromancy into Morenn to lock her. Then we'll hit Dandelion. Okay, then it's Decoy. On Ciri. What? To get her back? Okay, that has to have just been pure chance. It is possible, of course, as you just saw, for that to happen, but very unlikely unless they have almost no units in their deck. In which case, alright, now we'll use Geralt of Rivia to destroy her. Alright, they're just gonna pass. Okay, that means we'll have a quick round 1 win here in that case. And round 1 was so quick, in fact, that we drew back up to 10 cards, so we could push here in round 2 if we wanted to. I think let's get rid of the Megascope. And I'm looking for a little more movement. We did draw into a second Dol Blathanna Sentry. That does help, just as long as we actually get cards that move. Might even try swapping out the Catwitcher Mentor. It's decent, but it doesn't move itself. It is just sort of a complement to other cards that do the movement. Okay, and the Dryad Matron does move, so that works. And I think we do try to push here. So let's go with the Dol Blathanna Sentry first. Okay, then they're going to create a copy of it. Oh, looks like they're putting it in the melee row. That is clever. That is going to make it a little bit difficult for us to do all this movement. Though, of course, we could move it with our leader ability, or we could even Oneiromancy into Malena to move it. And I think we want to do that here. So let's go with our second Dol Blathanna Sentry. Then move theirs. So now they'll be boosted with that Dol Blathanna Sentry, but of course we're hoping they're not going to have quite as much movement as we'll have. Okay, they're going with Cantarella though, so they might steal something big here. And, well, this does hurt. With Red Haze, they will be able to destroy one of our sentries. So now, of course, we can do the same thing here, getting out one of our Catwitchers. And let's put it in the melee row. So we can start damaging their Dol Blathanna Sentry, because we'd like to get rid of this. Okay, then they're going to use the Mage Torturer. Give Spying to one of them. Makes you wonder if they might have Terra Nova in their deck. Alright, so now let's go with the Dryad Matron for even more movement. Okay, then it's the Alpha Pikeman. That'll give them some damage. To which I say, let's get another Catwitcher out there. Okay, then they're going to use War Council to get them Coup de Grace, which, okay, this might be what they're looking to do after giving Spying to the Dol Blathanna Sentry. That means they can play another one of their own. Of course, they took out our second Dol Blathanna Sentry, so in theory that means they're getting a little bit more boost every time they do the movement, just we have more movement than they do at this stage. And we do have some big cards remaining here, but for the most part, we need one more turn before we can play them. Like, Brehen needs one more turn before he can destroy this Catwitcher. It's one more turn before Gezras' Adrenaline 3 kicks in, but we might want to do that here, because otherwise we're a little bit stuck. So let's go for it. And of course, that is one of, if not our biggest card that we have remaining. Just he's only going to be boosting by one every turn rather than boosting an entire row, because we played him a little on the early side. Okay, then they're going to use Igni Which, fortunately, this Gezras and that Cat Witcher were on different rows, otherwise that could have been pretty catastrophic, but it does get rid of Gezras. Alright, I think we just go with a little Selective Mutation here. And we'll get Vesemir Mentor, although we may very well end up putting him back in our deck here. So I think we still prefer what we have in our hand at the moment. Okay, then they're using Bribery, hoping they don't get a Gezras. That's probably what the worst result would be. Okay, I was gonna say, and then probably just jinxed it. Fortunately, it's just a Treant Boar. Okay, now they have the Cat Witcher as the rightmost card in their range row. So this is the Brehen moment that I was waiting for. And maybe they see that coming, because they forfeit. So there's a look at a Cat School Scoia'Tael deck for the new Trial of the Grasses seasonal events. If you liked the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and leave a comment down below. Let me know which other cards, archetypes, and factions you'd like us to experiment with next. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.